Welcome to a new episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Complicated Extra podcast, where we explore the essential principles and practices that shape the construction industry. As always, I'm your host Chris Bailey and this is episode 14. Today we are continuing our deep dive into construction design principles with part 2 of the benefits of good design. In our last episode we covered the fundamentals, and today we are taking it further by exploring how design decisions impact not just buildings but communities, the environment and even corporate reputation. We'll be discussing corporate social responsibility in construction, the fascinating world, vernacular architecture, sustainable building codes and the critical choice between Brownfield and Greenfield development sites. Plus, we will look at what happens when design goes wrong. So whether you're a construction professional, a student, or just someone interested in how the built environment shapes our lives, stick around and let's get connected. Let's kick off with corporate social responsibility, or CSR. Now, you might be thinking, what does corporate responsibility have to do with design? Well, everything actually. In the construction industry, CSR has become a critical factor in sustainable business development. It's not just about building structures anymore, it's about building trust, communities, and a positive legacy. Construction companies today are developing comprehensive CSR reports to maintain their corporate image and demonstrate their commitment to more than just profit. So what does good CSR look like in practice? Well, let me give you a few examples. First, well-designed buildings that improve quality of life and well-being. This means thinking beyond aesthetics and functionality to consider how a building affects the people who use it daily. By looking at natural light, air quality, accessibility, these all matter. Secondly, we have supporting local community groups and educational programs. Construction companies are increasingly partnering with schools, colleges, and community organisations to share knowledge and inspire the next generation. Third, giving time and resources to charitable organisations. Whether it's pro bono work on community projects or financial support for local causes, this demonstrates a commitment to social good. Fourth, developing community spaces, like cycle paths, parks and landscapes. They aren't just nice to have, they're essential infrastructure that improves quality of life for everyone. Fifth, offering experience programs and supporting apprenticeships. This is huge for the industry's future. By investing in training and development, companies ensure skilled workers for tomorrow while providing opportunities today. And finally, responsible purchasing and minimising waste. This means thinking carefully about supply chains, choosing sustainable materials and implementing waste reduction strategies on site. The bottom line, CSR isn't just a buzzword, it's a fundamental aspect of good design that considers the broader impact of construction projects on society and the environment. Now let's talk about something really fascinating, vernacular architecture. This architecture with a story, with roots, with character. Vernacular architecture is characterised by its relevance on local needs, local construction materials and local traditions. It's indigenous to a specific time and place. And here's the key, it's not replicated from anywhere else. This is truly authentic. Historically, vernacular architecture relied on the skills and expertise of local builders rather than formally trained architects. Think about traditional cottages in the Cotswolds, stone crofts in Scotland and timber frame houses in Tudor England. Each style emerged from the materials available locally and the climate and lifestyle of the people who lived there. So why does all this matter today? Because vernacular architecture teaches us valuable lessons about sustainable contextual design. These buildings were inherently sustainable. They used local materials, reducing transport costs and carbon emissions. They were designed for local climate conditions, providing natural heating, cooling, and ventilation. And they created a sense of place and identity that modern developments often lack. In contemporary construction, we're seeing a renewed interest in vernacular principles. Not copying old styles exactly, but learning from them, using local materials where possible, designing for climate, and creating buildings that feel connected to their location rather than generic boxes that could be anywhere. Good design respects context, and vernacular architecture is the ultimate example of that principle. Moving on to sustainable standards, let's discuss the Code for Sustainable Homes, which was introduced back in 2006. This code was set up with two main goals in mind: by reducing carbon emissions and create more sustainable homes. It provides technical requirements and details of assessment process for new residential developments. So here's how it works. The code requires performance assessments of new dwellings at two stages. Firstly, during the design, and secondly, when the construction is completed. It measures sustainability against 9 key categories, giving a final code rating between levels 1 to 6, with 6 being the most sustainable. So let's run through these 9 categories. Number 1, we have energy and CO2 emissions. Probably the most critical category, focusing on energy efficiency and renewable energies. Number 2, we have water, looking at water efficiency and consumption within the property. Number 3, materials, responsible sourcing and environmental impact on material buildings. Number 4, surface water runoff. Managing rainwater and reducing flood risks is paramount in new developments today. Number 5, we have waste, minimising construction and operational waste throughout the process. Number 6, pollution. Reducing air and water pollution is a high priority for most people. Number 7, health and well-being, creating healthy living environments for the end user to enjoy for many years. Number 8, management, sustainable construction practices. Have they been followed? How were they used? And 9, ecologically, protecting and enhancing biodiversity. Now, here's the important point. Before 2015, the code could be mandated as part of a local authority's development plan. Currently, it's a voluntary code. However, many developers still use it as a benchmark for sustainable design because it provides a comprehensive framework and can be a selling point for environmentally conscious buyers. The Code for Sustainable Homes demonstrates how good design goes beyond aesthetics and functionality. It's all about creating homes that are better for the planet and better for the people who live in them. Now we come to one of the most debated topics in construction and urban planning. This is Brownfield versus Greenfield developments. This choice has massive implications for design, cost, sustainability, and community impact. So let's start with brownfield sites. A brownfield site is previously used for industrial or commercial purposes. Often, and this is important, this land is contaminated with hazard waste from its previous use. There are 4 classes of brownfield site. We have vacant, derelict, contaminated, and partially occupied or utilised. So what are the advantages of developing brownfield sites? First, planning permissions are generally easy to obtain. Why? Well, because local authorities are actually trying to improve rundown and derelict land within or surrounding existing urban areas. They want to see these sites brought back to life. Second, brownfield development can stimulate local regeneration. When you redevelop a derelict site, you often attract new shops, businesses, and services to the area, creating a ripple effect of improvement. Thirdly, services and infrastructure are usually already in place, like roads, utilities, public transport. It's all there, which can significantly reduce development costs and time. But don't forget, we do have some disadvantages as well. The big one, contaminated ground is expensive to clear. We're talking about potential hazardous material that needs to be safely removed or treated. This can add significant cost and complexity to the project. Now, let's look at Greenfield site. These are pieces of land that have not previously been built on. They're normally agricultural or local amenity land, considered for urban development, often within the Greenbelt. Quick history lesson. The Greenbelt we have today was introduced in 1955 by the Minister of Housing. It was designed to stop urban sprawl into open countryside, and it remains a contentious issue today. So what are the advantages of Greenfield development? The main one is the land is normally free from contaminants, and homes built on Greenfield sites can command a premium or higher price. Buyers often pay more for new homes in green locations. But the disadvantages are significant. First, government and local authorities have increased restrictions on the development of greenbelt land to protect wildlife and the countryside. There's strong public and political opposition to greenfield development in many areas within the UK. Second, planning permissions can be difficult to obtain. You often fight in an uphill battle against environmental groups, local residents, and planning policies designed to protect green spaces. Third, services and infrastructure need to be provided. Unlike brownfield sites, you are starting from scratch. Roads, sewers, electricity, water, schools, and shops. This is expensive and very time-consuming. And finally, urban sprawl results in increased pollution. More cars travelling longer distances, loss of green spaces that absorb CO2, destruction of habitats, the environmental costs can be very high. So which is better? From a sustainability and good design perspective, brownfield development is generally preferred. It makes use of existing infrastructure, regenerates neglected areas, and preserves green spaces. However, the reality is more complex. Sometimes greenfield development is necessary to meet housing needs, and sometimes brownfield sites are simply too contaminated or difficult to develop economically. Good design means carefully weighing these factors and making informed decisions that balance economic, social, and environmental considerations. So before we wrap up, let's talk about what happens when design goes wrong. Because understanding the consequences of poor design really drives home why good design matters so much. Poor design can lead to reduced saleability. Buildings that are poorly designed simply don't sell, or they sell for less than what they should. Buyers recognise quality or the lack of it. It causes reduced efficiencies. Poor design means higher energy costs, maintenance issues, and operational problems that cost money year after year. There's damage to reputation for developers and construction companies. A poorly designed building could tarnish their brand for many, many years. Word spreads, especially in the age of social media and online reviews. Perhaps most seriously, poor design can result in poor safety standards, including fires and health risks. We have seen tragic examples of this in recent years. Design isn't just about aesthetics, it's literally about life and death. And finally, issues like mould infestation can result from poor design decisions around ventilation, installation, and moist management. This affects health, property value, and quality of life. The message is clear. Cutting corners on design is a false economy. The costs, financial, social and human, far way out any short-term savings. And that brings us to the end of episode 14 of the Copper Connection podcast. Today we have explored how good design extends far beyond the drawing board. We've seen how corporate social responsibility integrates ethical considerations into construction, how vernacular architecture teaches us about sustainability, contextual design, how the codes for sustainable homes provide a framework for environmental performance, and how the choice between Brownfield and Greenfield sites involves complex trade-offs. Most importantly, we have seen that good design isn't optional. It's essential for creating buildings and communities that are safe, sustainable and successful. So thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review and share it with your colleagues and friends within the industry. Join us next time on the Copper Connection podcast, where we'll continue exploring the principles and practices that makes great construction possible. Until then, stay connected, stay curious and keep building better.
We'll be back next week. In the meantime, please subscribe and thanks for listening.